Welcome back to Twisted Tales of Murder. In part one of From the Mouths of Murderers, we heard from Ted Bundy, Richard Ramirez, Charles Manson, and Jeffrey Dahmer. Today, in part two of From the Mouths of Murderers, we will hear the twisted accounts from the killers themselves. These will include Ed Kemper, John Wayne Gacy, Eileen Wuornos, Westley Allan Dodd, Wanda Jean Allen, and Carroll Cole. Disclaimer: some of this information is disturbing and gruesome. Please be advised. Before we begin, please like and subscribe to Twisted Tales of Murder. Ed Kemper is a serial killer who killed 10 people, including his grandparents, mother, and many female college students. Kemper was only 15 when he murdered his paternal grandparents. Due to Kemper's high IQ of 145 and his seemingly pleasant demeanor, he manipulated the hospital staff where he was held after killing his grandparents. They allowed him access to an assessment device where he memorized the responses and fixed his own psychiatric test results in his favor. Thus, on his 21st birthday, he was released from the hospital with a clean medical record. Kemper was nicknamed the co-ed killer, as most of his non-family member victims were college students that he picked up hitchhiking in the Santa Cruz area. Most of his murders included necrophilia, dismemberment, and decapitation. Then, on Easter Sunday in 1973, Kemper fled his mother's home after he had killed her and her friend and made his way to Colorado. He realized it wouldn't be long before the crimes were tied to him, so he pulled the car over and called the Santa Cruz police and made a full confession. At his trial, Kemper was found sane and guilty in 1973. He requested the death penalty, but California had a stay of execution, so he received 8 concurrent life sentences. He is still being held at the California Medical Facility in Vacaville, California. Now listen to Kemper's chilling tales of his crimes.
Well, I'm not an expert. I'm not an authority. I'm someone who has been a murderer for almost 20 years.
Can you say how many people might be doing crimes like you were doing?
It would be a guess, but it's not. It's far more than 35. It isn't that impossible in this society. It happens.
Are there more people?
They didn't give up.
How many?
She didn't give up. I did. I came in out of the cold. And what I'm saying is there are some people who prefer it in the cold.
Good people see.
A nice guy.
You were able to appear like an ordinary person, non-threatening to...
I lived as an ordinary person most of my life, even though I was living a parallel and increasingly sick life, other life. One victim let me back in the car. I locked myself out. She opened the door for me. My gun was under the seat. What in the hell am I doing telling you that? Am I a masochist? Am I looking to be tormented further? I'm trying to show you just how awful this got. I was raging inside. There was just incredible energies, positive and negative, depending on a mood that would trigger one or the other. And outside, I looked troubled at times. Other times I looked moody. Other times perfectly serene. Not very sane. But again, people weren't even aware of what was happening.
In 1972 and 1973, a series of murders shocked Northern California. College girls began to disappear while hitchhiking. 2 of the victims were picked up from the campus of the University of California at Santa Cruz. That's where Ed Kemper's mother was working as an administrative assistant.
You were involved in the campus because your mother worked there.
Yes. I was also involved in killing co-eds because my mother was associated with college work, college co-eds, women, and had a very strong and violently outspoken position on men for much of my upbringing. My mother was a sick, angry, hungry, and very sad woman. I hated her.
Why did you actually kill the girl?
My frustration, my inability to communicate socially, sexually. I wasn't impotent, but emotionally I was impotent. I was scared to death of failing in male-female relationships. I knew absolutely nothing about that whole area. Even if just sitting down and talking with a young lady. I need to be able to really communicate. And ironically enough, that's why I began picking people up. And I'm picking up young women. And I'm going a little bit farther each time. It's a daring kind of a thing. At first, there wasn't a gun. I'm driving along. We go to a vulnerable place where there aren't people watching, where I could act out. And I say, no, I can't. And then a gun is in the car, hidden. And this craving, this awful, raging, eating feeling inside. I could feel it consuming my insides, this fantastic passion. It was overwhelming me. It was like drugs. It was like alcohol. A little isn't enough. At first it is. And as you adjust to that psychologically and physically, you take more and more and more. It's the same process. So it finally came down to the thing of, do I dare bring this gun out? Already realizing if that gun comes out, something has to happen. It was going to happen. I didn't see it then, but it was going to happen. I was playing a dangerous game with a loaded gun that got us all.
On one occasion, Kemper picked up 2 roommates in Berkeley.
That first killing in May of '72. When that gun was pulled out, I launched it out. I had it under my leg, out of sight, parallel to my leg in the seat. It was something that had been thought out in fantasy, acted out, felt out hundreds of times before it ever happened.
Kemper drove them at gunpoint to a secluded area near a park. He took one of them into the woods, leaving the second girl tied in the car.
I just gone through a horrible experience with her roommate stabbing her. And I was in shock because of that. I couldn't believe it was that way. And I'm walking back there bewildered. I gotta kill her. I can't let her go. She's gonna tell on me. Everybody's gonna get me. She sees the blood on my hands. What are you doing? She pulled back and she gasped. And I think, whoa, I don't want her to know what happened. I said, your friend got smart with me. She'd been getting really smart with me a lot, but I never hit her. I killed her, but I didn't hit her. I said, your friend got smart with me and I hit her. I think I broke her nose. You better come help. She's about to die. Why does she have to know that? I couldn't deal with telling her that. And when I attacked her, she didn't at first realize what was happening. It didn't go through. She had very heavy coveralls on. It knocked her right up into the lid of the car, but it didn't pierce the clothing. So it wasn't that swell a knife anyway. I went out and bought a pawn shop, huge knife. And I kept on just mindlessly attacking. She falls back into the trunk. I just killed a young woman. I slammed down the lid of the trunk. She isn't dead. She's dying. And I panicked. I thought I just locked the car keys in it because I can't find them in my pocket. Oh my God, I locked them in the trunk. I'm kicking on the trunk lid and yanking on it. Oh no, I don't believe this. I started to run and I tripped over the gun that I'd had in my pants that I had totally forgotten was there. I stopped. I said, stop and think. I collected my wits. Check all your pockets. I picked the gun up. I stuck it back in my pants, now remembering I had one. I checked all my pockets, and there's the keys in the back pocket. I never put them in my back pocket.
Ironically, one warning advised riding only in cars with university stickers. Kemper's car had such a sticker.
My mother worked at the campus, and I had an A sticker on my car, an obvious access day or night to the campus. I was picking up some very lovely young women. You know what we were talking about as we're driving around? Almost as often as not, this guy is going around doing this stuff. And the second they started talking that, they didn't realize it, but they were getting a free ride. I couldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, I swear. You know, but they'd be telling me what all about this guy, and they're comparing notes and speculating on what he looks like, how he carries himself, why he's doing this stuff, telling me about it.
So how come they get in a car with somebody at that time?
She judged me not to be that guy. I didn't look like it. It's getting easier to do. I was getting better at it. I was getting less detectable. I started flaunting that invisibility, severing a human head, 2 of them at night in front of my mother's residence, with her at home, my neighbors at home upstairs, their picture window open, the curtains open, 11 o'clock at night, the lights are on. All they have to do is walk by, look out, and I've had it.
Why did you keep the heads? Why did you cut them off? And why did you keep
Something out of my childhood. I could put it on an incident. I mean, my father chopping the heads off of our 2 pet chickens and my mother insisting that I eat them for dinner. You know, we could say it was something that simple. I don't think it was. Now, my dad heads out back with a hatchet. I got on my bike and I tried to stop it. I remember that. I got on the bike, rode around the block. I was crying. I haven't talked about that for a lot of years. I'm sure that may have implemented something, that may have gotten something rolling, but along fantasy lines. But it took a lot of years of development along those lines to really get off.
But how are you able to, in 1 minute, have someone's head in your hand and very shortly thereafter?
Living through a fantasy, however that would relate to that severed head. And then 5 minutes later, I'd put that away and there'd be a knock on the door and I'd put it away and answer the door.
And all this time, Kemper was able to seem normal. He even hung out at a bar across the street from the courthouse, making friends with policemen, trying to pick up information.
They'd buy me a beer, I'd buy them a beer. Casual relationships, but I was poking around a little bit trying to find some things out. I knew they wouldn't be privy to hot information, but there were some things that were bothering me, like were there any speculations on how they were dying?
Did the cops like you?
Like I said, a friendly nuisance. I got in the way, and it was deliberate. Again, friendly nuisances are dismissed.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, because up next is John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy was a serial killer and rapist who murdered at least 33 teenage boys and young men in Cook County, Illinois, burying them under his house. Gacy was also known as the Killer Clown for his habit of dressing up in clown costume and makeup. Gacy had an abusive childhood and struggled with his homosexuality, yet he married and had 2 daughters, and his wife divorced him after his conviction of his first assault on a child. Gacy committed all of the murders in his home, luring his victims there with promise of work or some other ruse. Then he sexually assaulted and tortured them before killing them, usually by strangulation. Gacy was arrested in 1979, and the following year he was convicted of 33 murders. Gacy was executed in 1994. Now we will hear from Gacy himself, talking about what clowning meant to him.
The clowning was relaxation for me. I enjoyed entertaining kids. Like some people are, they unwind in different ways, either we're going out drinking or that. I could put on clown makeup and I was relaxed. And I enjoyed doing it. It was only twice a month that I did it.
Yeah, this was not using for a lure to draw kids to you.
No, we would visit different hospitals and entertain the children there. And we didn't entertain them with handcuffs or anything like that. All we used was balloon animals and small toys and stuff like that. But we also did parades. And in the summertime, like on 4th of July, I used to be in 4 parades in one day. I've always told people when I got into clown makeup, I regressed into childhood. It was fun being a clown because you could be yourself or just let yourself go and act a fool. You could be slapstick and funny and have a good time. That's why I always enjoyed clowning. Clowning has taken a bad name.
If you weren't afraid of clowns before, you might be now. Now, we have Eileen Wuornos, who helped to put female killers on the map. She was convicted of murdering 6 men in Florida, and she had encountered the law many times prior. When she was living as a sex worker on the Florida highways is where her killing spree began. Wuornos did not have an easy life growing up. She was born to a father who was a child molester and sociopath who was strangled in prison in 1969. Wuornos also became pregnant at the age of 14, when she then dropped out of school, left home, and took up hitchhiking and prostitution. Then, between December of 1989 and September of 1990, the bodies of several men were found murdered along the highway of Florida. Wuornos confessed to the murder of all 6 men, claiming that she'd been picked up by them when she was working as a prostitute, and she shot them in self-defense after they attempted to sexually assault her. Wuornos pled no contest to murder of all 5 men and was sentenced to death. Within 2 weeks of her arrest, Wuornos and her attorneys sold the rights to her story. Investigators in the case did the same. The case resulted in several books and movies, and even one opera that's called America's First Serial Killer. I don't think I'm going to go see that. Now you will hear from Wuornos the day before her execution.
I'm just wondering how you're going to be, at 9:30 tomorrow morning. You prepared?
I'm prepared. I'm all right. I'm all right with it.
No.
I'm all right with it. But like I said, remember and let them know that I know that the cops knew who I was. After Richard Mallory died, I left prints everywhere and they covered it up and let me kill the rest of those guys to turn me into a serial killer. I know they did, because I was no professional serial killer or anything. I'm a murderer or whatever you want to call it. I wasn't special at what I was doing.
Eileen,
I did some sloppy work, and I left
how have
prints.
you prepared yourself for tomorrow morning?
I'm all right with it. They're trying to make it look like I was crazy at all times, rig up the room with torture. If I said anything about I think their whole plan was to try to make it look like I was totally crazy. And so nobody would believe anything I had to say about anything. And then drive me there if they could. I suffered so bad. I was really struggling to survive. Had a lot of trays that were attempted murder and everything. I had to wash all my food off. And then one day I didn't wash my food off and I was sick for 3 weeks, almost died.
But you're okay now.
I'm okay. I'm okay. God is going to be there. Jesus Christ is going to be there. All the angels and everything. And, whatever's on the beyond, I think it's going to be more like Star Trek, beaming me up into a space vehicle, man. Then I move on, recolonize to another planet or whatever. But it's whatever's the beyond, I know it's going to be good because I didn't do anything as wrong as they said. I did the right thing. And I saved a lot of people's butts from getting hurt and raped and killed too.
So are you saying that you killed in self-defense or in cold blood? What do you, because you changed your story. I'm just trying to.
What are you talking about? Change story on what?
No, about whether it was self-defense or not.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to get into depth about my cases, Nick. I'm on my way to the chamber. Nothing stopping it. You can believe it or you don't have to believe it. That's up to you, man. Put a big question mark on your film.
What more is there to say about the cops? What more do you want to say about the cops?
A lot of stuff. Did you know that they were surveilling me before I killed? And that I knew it? And that it was covered up? Did you know there was helicopters dropping down from the sky? Deputy sheriff with decoys picking me up 4 or 5 months before my arrest? It was covered up.
But nonetheless,
Nobody ever asked me these
whether the cops
questions.
were following you or not,
Where's the cops?
Okay, let's say the cops were following.
Yeah.
Let's say they were following you and they did everything that you're saying they did.
Uh-huh.
Nonetheless,
Yeah.
you killed 7 men.
Yes,
And I'm asking you, what got you to kill the 7 men?
because the cops let me keep them, Nick. Don't forget.
Not everybody is killing 7 people. So there must have been something in you that was getting you through them.
Nick,
So
you're
it's
a chucking hooker.
right.
Running into trouble. I shoot the guy if I ran into trouble. Physical trouble. The cops knew it. When the physical trouble came along, let her clean the streets, and then we'll pull her in.
But
That's
how come there was so much physical trouble? Because it was all in 1 year. 7 people in 1 year.
Oh well.
But why not say now?
Because I'm having a retaliation for taking my life like this and getting rich off it all these years in total pathological life. Yeah, thanks a lot. I lost my fucking life because of it. Couldn't even get a fair trial. Couldn't even get a fair investigation or nothing. Couldn't even have my appeals right. You sabotaged my society and the cops and the system. A raped woman got executed and was used for books and movies and shit. Bladder climbs, the election, everything else. I got big finger in all your faces. Thanks a lot. You're an inhumane bunch of fucking living bastards and bitches. And you're gonna get your asses nuked in the end. And pretty soon it's coming.
Up next is child molester and murderer Westley Allan Dodd. By his own account, stated he should definitely be put to death because he would never stop abusing children. In 1989, Dodd kidnapped, molested, and fatally stabbed 11-year-old Cole Neer and his brother William, who was 10. They encountered Dodd in Vancouver, Washington, while the boys were playing at a public park. A short time later, Dodd abducted and murdered 4-year-old Lee, Portland, Oregon. In 1992, the state of Washington hanged Dodd for these murders. According to his own handwriting that he named his sexual history, Dodd began preying on children at the age of 13. In all, he stated he abused as many as 175 children of both sexes, mostly boys, over the 15-year period. Dodd said he moved from exposing himself to fondling victims to sexually assaulting them, and finally to sexually sadist murders. As he progressed through even more violent acts, Dodd also became less circumstantial, acting more impulsively and increasing risk. It was during an attempted abduction of his 4th victim in Washington that Dodd was finally taken into custody for good. He tried to grab a 6-year-old boy in the men's room at the movie theater. Luckily, the boy struggled and screamed for help, and a passerby rescued him. He stated, "The thoughts of killing children are exciting to me." Now we get to hear the chilling thoughts from Dodd himself.
Why do you want to be executed? I have to be. Because I will kill again. No, I would do it again. I've been molesting kids nonstop since I was 13 years old, over half my life. Anything happened, I can guarantee I'd do it again, and sooner or later I would kill another child. I've done it before, and at the time I liked it.
Dodd also says that if he ever escapes from prison, there is someone in particular that he will be out to kill.
I'm not going to say who, but there is somebody out there. There's a man out there.
There's a man. Someone related to the case that got you in prison in the first place?
Not directly, no.
But it's something that you know that you're going to do, or you plan to do, you want to do.
Yeah.
Did your execution do any good?
I think it would. I think a few child molesters anyway are going to think twice before they do anything again.
How do you live with yourself daily?
At times it's not easy. I said there's times I think about what I've done. I think about some of the things the boys said before they died, and that's real hard to think about. At other times I just try to put everything out of my mind.
Do you look forward to dying?
In a way, yeah, I think it'd be a relief. I don't have to think about all these things anymore. And I know that's the only way. I can guarantee I'm not going to hurt anybody else. Right now I sit here and say I don't want to, but I know it'll happen.
Wanda Jean Allen is a killer that was controversially executed. At the age of 12, she was hit by a truck and knocked unconscious, and then at the age of 14, she was stabbed in the left temple. It was found that her abilities were quite impaired and that her IQ was only 69. In 1981, Allen got in an argument with her girlfriend, and she shot and killed her, Prosecutors cut a deal with Allen, and she only received 4 years in exchange for a guilty plea of manslaughter. 7 years after the death of Deidre, Allen was living with her girlfriend, Gloria Jean Leathers. Gloria Jean was shot in front of the village police department in Oklahoma City. 15 minutes before the shooting, the two girls were involved in a dispute at a grocery store. The jury found her guilty of first-degree murder. The prosecutors argued that Allen should be sentenced to death because she had been previously convicted of a felony involving the use of threats of violence. A psychologist conducted an evaluation on Allen in 1995 and found clear and convincing evidence of cognitive deficits and brain dysfunction due to her adolescent head injuries. Wanda Jean Allen, a woman that was mentally retarded, was executed by lethal injection in Oklahoma. She was the first Black woman to suffer the death penalty in the United States in almost half a century. As you will see in Wanda's interview, she is quite different from the previous killers. And had she been in a different state or not been poor or Black, she likely would not have been executed.
Wanda, tell me describe you. How do you describe yourself to others?
Loving, compassionate, thoughtful, thinking of others as before I think of myself. Very family oriented.
What has been the good, if any, that you see that has come out of all of this for you?
Well, I've been baptized since I've been here. I give my life over to Christ. A lot of good things that came out of it. I've been blessed. My family with their health and strength. So this has been a structured environment for me where I can get the help I need since I've been here. So that's been really good for me.
Has your family grown stronger because of this?
Their faith throughout this.
People talk about finding faith in prison. Is that the only choice you have when you're in prison, to find faith, or can you actually go through this and not have faith?
I had faith before I got in prison. My faith was strong as I got here. Sometimes he allows us to go through certain situations and trials so we can have us start trusting more in him. Let him do things for us in our lives.
When you pray, what do you pray for?
First, forgiveness, to be able to forgive others in order to be forgiven, and for him to guide and direct my life. Seeing the victim's family and their loss, and that's hard in itself. And then my family being there, this is attractive for both. There's no winners here. So both families is grieving at the same time. Even though I'm still here with my family, I haven't been able to have no contact or physical contact with them in 12 years. All my visits has been non-contact. And to see the other family over there, which I love and miss them as well, because they were like part of my family too. Our families are very close. And I had a visit with the mother, the victim's mother. We visited for several hours. It was a talk.
You forgave.
Yeah.
Tell me about that one.
We came in, we spent several hours visiting. We had prayer together. And she said that she forgiven me. And she didn't like what I done. But she had forgiven me because she's a Christian woman. And I expressed how sorry I was for that tragic thing. And how sorry I was for taking it all this long. And I let her know that I was glad that the visit had taken place, that it was the best visit I had.
You know, there are a lot of people, possibly not in Oklahoma, but outside of this area and from Europe, who look at what the state of Oklahoma is planning to do to you and are horrified.
But see, they're on the outside looking in. I'm on the inside looking out. I know what's going on in the inside. And it's a struggle for everybody right now. I've been here for 12 years. The staff members, the inmates, it's like my family, and it's everybody's hard for them right now, knowing that it could come to that, but everybody's keeping their faith. And by them doing, they have came around me They have no fear of me being in jail population, because they open my door, the staff members open my door, and they don't restrain me. I never hurt any inmates since I've been here. I've been in jail population before, and it's never hurt anyone. And the people's out there, they're only going what the media tells them or what they hear. I have never hurt anyone since I've been in this correctional facility in 12 years. Even when I've been in jail population before, I never hurt anyone. They have no fear of me being in jail population. They want them to spare my life and let me remain in the Department of Corrections the rest of
You know, I think some of the worries people were thinking that you were asking to be set free. What are you asking? What do you expect? What would you like?
I'm not asking them to release me. I'm asking them to let me spend the rest of my life in the Department of Corrections.
What do you remember about your trial? Do you think you got a fair trial?
No, I did not get a fair trial. I didn't get fair representation. Even the attorney was at my clemency hearing, tried to, be there for the board in case the board had any questions to let them know. He couldn't defend me because the district attorney wouldn't even allow us to have an investigator at the time so we can put on evidence to mitigate my case. Didn't even have the information that he has now, and he's aware of now, that could have saved my life.
Your attorney told me about the mitigating factors that were not allowed or that were not known about during your trial. What did your attorney not know about you?
He didn't know, he didn't have the background information of the doctor I had seen in 75 that had information that I was brain damaged. I had 2 accidents in my life that left me with memory loss and brain damage. Once when I was a younger child, I got struck by a truck and lost unconsciousness. I rented unconscious for a length of time while I lost memory then. Then another time in my teen years, I was stabbed in the temple.
The state says that killing you is justice.
No, it's not justice. It's not justice. 2 wrongs don't make a right. And, family of the victims, they do not want to see me die. So what right, killing me for the state, the victim's family don't want me to die. They are against death.
How do you persuade people in a state that seems to think you can't be tough on crime if you don't kill people? I may be getting too far ahead, but this is Oklahoma. It's like Texas, that you don't get elected if you're not tough on crime, and they're going to say, you killed once, you killed twice, you don't deserve to live. How do you fight that?
That's not true. They have other inmates that's in the general population. I'm not a Bernie staff. They didn't put a steakhouse murderer. They didn't execute her. She's in general population. I killed 2 people, right? That's wrong. That's wrong. But you have to look at the case in itself. I did time for that case that I did before. I did the time. I served the time for that. I was in society for 7.5 years. I didn't kill before. I didn't hurt anyone before. You have to look at the case on a case-by-case basis. You got a person that's in general population right now, Bernie Stafford, kill people at the steakhouse. You got Deputy Spinaga that was on death row. You got Patricia Jones that was on death row. You got Stephania Faye Foster, she had 5 death sentences and they were overturned. You have to look at the case by itself. You have to look at an individual case. My case was neither heinous nor atrocious nor cruel. So you can't do that. That's wrong in itself.
You have to be rich in the state to get a fair trial.
You have to have money. If you don't have money, if you're poor and black as myself, you're not going to get representation. You're not going to get a fair trial. They're going to do what they can, how they can, and they're going to try to take your life.
All right, what do you remember about that day, Jean?
I arrived at the village police department. I was going in to file charges on her for assault me. She had already struck me in the face with a weapon. And I was getting ready to go in the village police department. I didn't make it. We got into an argument right outside the village police department. And it was like, after then, I can't remember all that happened. It was like I was there physically, but not mentally.
Do you see, Jean, that people cannot look past the fact that manslaughter, that 2 women are dead because of you? And that's something that's hard for many people to get past.
Right. Yeah, it's a tragedy. It's been a tragedy. I did my time on the one in 82. I did 4 years on that. Did the time for that. I was out in society. I didn't hurt anyone. This day was totally different.
I guess the question that I think most people who don't have the luxury that I have of seeing you and knowing you are going to look at the fact that 2 women are dead and wonder why you, that person who you were 12 years ago, should be allowed to live.
Well, I'm ashamed of what I done. I'm sorry that a life has been taken, and the family knows how sorry I am. And if I could change anything in those circumstances today, I would bring her back. I would want her to be with her family as well as I am with my, because they know I loved her and her family loved her as well. My family loved her as well. So we're talking about 2 families that love each other. So it's only what the media and their perception of it and what everybody's trying to put in it. They don't want to see me there. The family do not want to see me.
The final killer we will hear from today is Carroll Edward Cole, who was an American serial killer that was executed in 1985 for killing at least 16 women between 1948 and 1980. Although the number is more likely closer to 35, Cole states he does not remember how many people he killed because he was often always drunk. Cole was abused by his mother, and she forced him to watch her have sex with men when her husband was away fighting in the war. Cole later said that he preyed on women with similarities to his mother as a way to get back at him. Cole was a true predator, and a doctor at the Stockton State Hospital said he seems to be afraid of the female figure and cannot have intercourse with her before first he must kill her. Cole was sentenced to death and refused appeals, and his execution happened in Nevada on December 6, 1985. You will hear from Cole himself saying, yes, he should be executed.
In an exclusive television interview, condemned killer Ed Kole talked about his life, about his punishment, and about the suffering of his victims that led him down this trail to his death.
What about the stress, Ed? Is it changing? Is it getting harder? Is it getting easier? What's it like?
Well, it's been getting harder.
Is it?
Yeah, since the Friday night actually, but really, last couple of days been real emotionally. I mean, not mentally drained, not emotionally drained. Just feel tired and everything like that. And exhausted.
Time going by quicker, slower,
Fast.
fast?
Mhm.
Does that made you change your mind in any way?
No.
Has it once ever occurred to you
No,
to
it's
delay
always,
this?
it's always occurred. But
Why not fight for your life?
I just don't care to.
Are you sorry?
For the victim?
Yes.
Yes. Mhm.
Anyone in particular?
Especially the one that was the 11-year-old girl way back in 1967. And even doing that 5-year sentence, that wasn't enough. But it affected me just also because I not suffered, but I thought about it and condemned myself for many years. Because I can just imagine what her life might have been like.
What's the little girl's name again?
Rarity.
What about the religious aspect of it, Ed?
Like I told you before, that's kind of personal.
But it's there.
Mhm.
When you think about this
execution. Are you afraid that there might be some pain involved? After all, we don't really know. This is the first time that the state has carried out this type of execution.
Oh, I said if I wasn't concerned about that, I'd be lying. Because everybody wants to go, easy the most comfortable way.
Is that in your mind though, that you might?
Yeah, that's in my mind. Yeah. They might, something might go wrong, or be some kind of suffering. But that is not all of my decision.
Do you deserve to die?
I can't answer that question.
Well, it's the ultimate question. It is the question.
Well, I did, yes. I think I did.
Thank you for joining me for part 2 of From the Mouths of Murderers. Remember to like and subscribe. Till next time, stay safe.